Hello and welcome to Alternative to Meds podcast. My name is Debbie Nelson, and I'm excited to introduce this amazing human being who's done huge things for the world of recovery. David Wiss, I did an interview with you long back, and you have continued your education and your fire and have spread it through all of California and a lot of other places. But welcome to Alternative to Meds podcast, and your work is amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to a meaningful discussion with you today, and I'm loving your energy and the energy that your facility is putting out.
Yeah, well, we believe in that. Honestly, the entire foundation of Alternative to Meds is gluten-free, sugar-free, caffeine-free, dairy-free, all organic. So diet is extremely important. As you can see, when I did my interview with you, I was considerably heavier. I reformed a lot of my diet. I took out all of those things because I realized that was kind of the last piece of my recovery journey that was very much neglected. No one talks about when it comes to long-term statistics, right? I'm a firm believer, without my nutrition and my amino acids, I don't know that I'd have 9 years sobriety.
That's you go. Sounds like you found the lane for yourself.
I did.
That works.
But then I found people like you. So see, the thing was, the first time I talked to someone like you or Patty Reese or all these people, I go, there's something to this. And I live it. You live it. So I'm not saying it from not experience. I live it. I've lived both sides of it. So tell me about when you did nutrition and recovery, and you've got a brand new app. You've got tons of new things that you've done. You've really honestly infiltrated all of California, it sounds like.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really did have a vision early in my career, probably before I even became a dietitian, when I was an intern before the PhD program. The early days, I really had a vision of bridging the gap between physical health and mental health and changing the prevailing narratives around nutrition. I was trained to think in calories and macronutrients. And, this is the predominant model in the fitness world, thinking about like using nutrition to alter body composition. And I knew that there was so much more to nutrition than that. I knew that people who had, gut issues, brain issues, mood issues, mental health challenges could benefit greatly from focusing on food and, of course, some supplements. And the conversation was new, and it was difficult. A lot of people didn't actually think that I was coming from a place of science. There is such a thing as bias, right? Where someone has a personal experience that colors their approach clinically. And I had a profound alteration in my reaction to life by way of nutrition, similar to you. This is the facts of my experience. But the data started rolling in. Right. The data on gut health, the data on food addiction, the sort of evolving landscape around eating disorders, the gut-brain axis really started to get attention. And then in the more recent years, we have really good evidence that nutrition can be helpful in improving depressive symptoms, right? So that's the essence of nutrition in recovery, is let's talk about it in a new way, in a qualitative way. Let's create a paradigm shift so that people who are entering into a new chapter of a journey could feel like nutrition was accessible to them. It didn't have to be fitness related.
Oh, I didn't think about that. But truly, I think everyone always kind of puts it in the same category.
They do. They lump it together. That like training and nutrition go together.
Right.
Like, what about psychiatry and nutrition? They go together.
Oh my God, that is so perfect. You're right. Psychiatry and bam. No, but truly, and one thing I've discovered is food is such a personal discussion. It's kind of like someone is putting down your mom. So if you tell somebody like, hey, like this is detrimental, you're like putting down their family, because it's like a personal relationship we have with food. And I think before, like I'd said before, when I first went into recovery, sugar was huge. Like that's what happens is people shifted into other things.
Yep,
And most treatment centers gladly drop you off at the corner grocery store to get your monster drink and all of the sugary snacks. And no one understands the direct correlation with constantly relapsing with what that's doing to the brain, right?
that's right. That's right. And yeah, you're right. Nutrition is very sensitive. It's become a pretty unsafe space online. There's just so much contention, disagreement, debate. And I think it's, we're still kind of stuck in the old ages where people do really seem to think that there's some universal truth with nutrition, that like this is the thing. And the reality is there's such a wide range of possibilities with food. Even to your example with addiction or mental health treatment, there's going to be one client where they're eating ultra processed, high sugar foods is, really harmful to their progress. And there might be someone where a little bit of that's helpful, right? So, we got to always think in nuanced ways, that there is just a wide range of people. We have a wide range of different biological systems at play. And yeah, there isn't any single thing that I could say that's going to be true for all people. So we do live in the era where nutrition is like really hotly debated. And I think part of, my efforts recently, especially with the app and with Wise My Nutrition, is to get people to understand that like there are middle paths, right? You don't have to pick this diet or that diet. You don't have to be, like a fully clean eater or an intuitive eater. Like there are ways to pull wisdom from different ideologies and different philosophies and bring it all together to make it individual and personal for each.
Well, how does the app work then? When someone gets onto your app, I do like that because I don't count calories or any of that. I eat for health at this point in my life. I'm very tuned into that. But that being said, I'd be ridiculous to say I'm never going to have pizza again in my life. I
Right.
just know the ramifications as to how I feel after I eat,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I think most people, I always say, think their brain is separate from the rest of their body, and they don't make the direct correlation with anxiety, depression, or other things with some of the foods that they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, how did
Yeah.
you bring on doing the food in treatment centers and reforming it bit by bit?
Yeah, let's start there and we'll get to the app later. The vision I had was to change, you know, the nutrition narrative in mental health. And I started with substance use disorder treatment centers. I think that, as a person in recovery, I can recall my own experience and, wishing I had some support there. And, when I think about doing nutrition interventions in addiction settings, right, there's a lot of prongs, we'll say, components to that. Obviously the easiest thing to do is just to come in and provide education, right? To do groups,
Right.
right? So I built curriculum many years ago to, you know, stimulate good discussion in addiction recovery settings. Above and beyond groups, we also have done a lot of one-on-one work. So if someone has disordered eating or they have some medical concerns that need nutrition therapy or body image issues or just gut issues or someone, a safe place to talk to, right? There's one-on-one counseling. And then to really take it one step further, we would get involved with the culinary staff, whether that be a chef or other members of the team, and try to advise on the food service operation, right? So if we're going to be teaching about beans, nuts, and seeds, or teaching about omega-3 fats for brain health, or teaching about fiber for gut health, it really helps a lot to have those foods actually being served at the facility or at, it helps a lot,
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost offensive when we come in and teach about nutrition for mental health and someone says like, yeah, they don't do any of those things here. Right.
Yeah.
So that's really, I mean, in reality, there's less and less residential facilities and more people live at their sober livings. And, those are a little bit more difficult to change the culture of in some cases. in some cases easier. But the point is like, yeah, we want to do education at the group level. We want to do one-on-one. We want to come in and see how we can improve the food service and the culinary experience for people. And then to take it even one step further is doing staff trainings and teaching the upper management and the case managers and therapists about nutrition for mental health, and teaching them how to lead by example, to be champions of this new message. Because yeah, we've seen it happen a lot where we bring in the curriculum, start trying to make some changes, but like the staff isn't providing good examples, right? So it's like, oh, you're telling the, the clients to eat a certain kind of food, and staff is doing something totally different. Like that speaks volumes, right? So yeah, there's a way to really create a, like to create systemic structural change in a large organization, but it has to be like from the top, right? It's got to come from the people that are making the decisions. We build it in, and it's a cultural change. It's a cultural change, and it takes time, but it's so worthwhile because people do get better outcomes. I've been a part of affiliated with a lot of different facilities over the years, and I still get like emails and Facebooks to this day, like, oh, I remember you in 2015, 16, you taught me how to eat, taught me how to make quinoa. And now I make it at home, and I think about you every day, right? That's the stuff,
That is that's the way I feel too, is that's the empowerment. That would I say, alternative to meds, the center, the culture, they live it. Like the foundation of his program.
Yep.
A lot of the other programs are reforming that, but you're right. It's like a foreign concept of what that actually looks like. You won't ever walk in where anybody would, because we know it, we live it, we believe it. Now, the other thing is I've coached people too, because I'm a nutritional coach too. And I've had people that'll say to me, I can't afford to eat that way. I mean, you probably hear that frequently as well. And I always joke, they're usually the people that have like a Jimmy John's meal across from you that they stopped and picked up, I can't afford to eat that way. And I'll say, well, how much did that cost you?
Right. Yeah.
Because if you went home and cooked yourself a piece of fish and had quinoa and steamed, you would spend less money than that.
Yep. Yep. It's the effort. It's the grocery shopping and the cooking, right? If you were to calculate like the time that it takes, the brain has a hard time getting on board with doing all those extra steps.
Right.
It's the hardest sell out of everything, right? Is to get people to see the value of actually going to the grocery store, spending the time to get comfortable in the kitchen, making food in larger amounts and having like leftovers for lunch the next day. Like that's truly the biggest gap, right? It's not that people don't know that fish, quinoa, and vegetables is a balanced dinner. It's that there's a huge barrier for someone to create that at home versus buy something with convenience or order something online. And that's an important part of the discussion, right? We assume that people don't do things because they don't know. It's not about knowledge, right? The deficit is really about how the brain computes like reward from the perspective of convenience, right? Like the brain is hardwired for convenience nowadays. Like it's a hard thing to tell someone to work harder, to do more effort to get something, when really the brain's going to weigh the pros and cons of that and be like, yeah, I could totally order something, throw it away, do no pots and pans, pay this much, and it'll taste better than the thing I could make at home. Why would anyone choose the grocery store in the kitchen, right?
I think for me, it started to become almost a challenge that, well, things have gotten so costly eating out, let's be truthful. And especially if you eat good quality food, you're really spending. I mean, I don't care where you go. I mean, of course, I live in Sedona, but you'll spend $25 on a salad eating out. So it's become almost like a personal mission of mine to prove that I can not only prepare it, make it, and eat it all within a half hour.
That's right.
I can make a salad. I can make a piece of fish. I can make that salad that I would have spent $25 on in less than 20 minutes and spend a fraction of the money. So it's actually become kind of a game of fun for me because I like the idea of what I'm saving money-wise. Because I'd rather have the money to go on a vacation or do other things. Plus, it's not just that, I feel better. So once you start feeling good.
Yeah.
So you know, that's, I was noting as I'm reading through, you know, you're pretty impressive because you continued doing lots of educational things. You did a lot of activism down in California. You've done a lot of activism in this arena. So you have been lynched, I'm sure. There's been numerous, because like you said, it's a very controversial. A lot of people don't want to have any association that there's any personal responsibility of diet that would influence that.
Right.
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 But I'm here to tell you, I'm 9 years sober, and it does.
Mhm.
But you did functional medicine test as well. I see that you went through and got tested and all of that. So you've brought that into your practice as well, functional
Yeah.
medicine, which I'm a big believer in. How do you apply that within your practice of what you do and nutrition?
Yeah. I mean, early in my career, right, people would come for advice on food and recovery, and supplements would usually be a part of that. And I think the model that I sort of came into early days with was like, you kind of look at their diet and make some assumptions, and you start guessing what might be the best supplements to take. And, pretty quickly, you see that, yeah, sure, you can make some pretty strong assumptions, right? If someone has
Right.
been on drugs and alcohol, they're coming into sobriety, you might be able to really say, we need a multivitamin, we need omega-3, we need, a probiotic, we need some magnesium, right? I could probably put together
Right.
a pretty good kit. But then once you start moving into, functional medicine and starting to understand how testing can be used to really personalize recommendations for people, it changes everything. So yeah, I do blood and urine testing for vitamin and mineral analyses, which has been really helpful getting people not only the right supplements, but in the right amount that they need. And, a big part of nutrition for mental health is anti-inflammatory eating. And we have pretty good data on what are anti-inflammatory foods at the population level, but everyone's different, right? Each person has foods that they might be reactive to in some form or another. So yeah, it's pretty powerful to combine the nutrition for mental health paradigm shift with a functional medicine approach, do a stool test, blood test, urine test, possibly a genetic test with saliva, and be able to bring together all the pieces and look at all the different laboratory reports and know the person that's in front of me, and be
Right.
able to say, from your organic acids test, these are some markers that are high, start providing education and putting it all together, and being able to essentially tell someone with a much higher level of certainty, these are the foods that I think would be best for you. These are the supplements that I think would be best for you. And then of course, get the follow-up a month later and people feel amazing. They said, I got the pep back in my step, right? I feel really
Right.
grateful that I know what I'm doing. And so, yeah, we use the slogan in functional medicine, test, don't guess.
So when you've gone down this path, and now you've got the functional medicine, you have the diet, you've done activism work all down in California to try to bring this out, kind of like me, where I just keep on going. I just want to make sure we keep lining people up like you, treatment centers that do this kind of mentality, because I truly believe it shifts the long term, whether someone has success. We
That's right.
already know statistically it's a less than 10% success rate within this industry of recovery and mental health. So when we bring on nutrition, it brings it up into the 87 percentile when people start having long term. But it is just science. Ironically, no science was used beforehand. Right?
Yeah.
Now we're actually telling people there is science. I mean, there is the microbiome. There is
That's right.
this, is that.
Right.
So,
We understand the mechanisms. We used to
right.
just kind of scream about it as like, no, this is something I'm sure of because it worked for me and it worked for you. And we all know this is true. We actually have mechanistic data describing how the food we eat impacts our gut, the composition of the bacteria, the inflammatory cascade, how all of that can affect brain function. And yeah, it's tricky science, but it's out there. And
Yeah.
yeah, it needs to be shared.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna keep sharing it. We're gonna. So when you've got this new app, tell me about how this app is going to be implemented and how it's going to help people.
Yeah, the app has really two major components, one of which is a food log. which is an opportunity for people to engage in journaling and to document some of the qualities of the food they eat. So it's not a calorie counting app. It has, a lot of qualitative features built in. So someone might upload a picture of their food and then figure out, which of the food groups were here, how hungry was I, what percentage did I eat, is there anything that came up, thoughts or feelings or details, et cetera. And it does allow for practitioners like me or you to be able to follow along our client's journey to see what's going on with them, food-wise, food group-wise, hunger-wise, et cetera. And then there's a nightly review feature, which is part of the food log, which allows for an individual to constructively review their day. They can set some intentions for themselves. Maybe they're working on bowel movements or making sure they take their supplements or getting sunlight. They can set some intentions for themselves. And at the end of each day, reflect back on how they did. The app does some summarizing and some totaling for someone. They could see how their food group distribution showed up throughout the course of the day. And then engage in some recovery related questions like what could I have done better? What corrective measures can I take? So it's an ongoing growth process, and that is entirely free. The food log is free and people will be able to use that ongoingly. And then there is a actual program. And the program is something that I put so much work into over the last 2 years. I think I started off conceptualizing a book. I was going to write a book about nutrition for mental health, addictions, disordered eating, depression, anxiety, trauma, ADHD. And I was going to have some, targeted messaging for each of those categories. And then I realized no one's reading books anymore. I shouldn't say that. It's not true. People are reading books, but what would be helpful is something that was more of a workbook, not just reading, but actually doing assignments, following, different reading assignments, et cetera. And so I created a video-based program that has, everything that I would teach someone in the course of 6 months working with me, right? So moving through all of the topics that I think have been identified to be helpful for people on a mental health recovery journey, things like mindful eating, anti-inflammatory eating, gut health. There's, body positive messaging in there and just nutrition for mental health stuff. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I put all my recipes, all my articles, all my videos, everything that would be helpful to someone all into an app. And there's assignments that one could do in the app. So it's an actual digital workbook. It's not just, oh, listen to the thing, be told what to do. Someone might be setting some intentions or selecting how many times they want to eat per day or their water strategy or their sleep strategy. And it's all within the app in a workbook that can be updated, modified, and people will continue to grow and seek nutrition change and just get little nudges from me and from the app in a very gentle way. So it's really designed for people that have, risk for eating disorders, have a trauma history. It's just designed to be like a big hug, just a big
Wow,
warm
that's
hug.
awesome. So it doesn't feel like it's not like a diet app. It's
That's
an
right.
app that's exactly, it's like more like guiding you to that intuitive, we talk, it's like you say, almost cliche, but truly about how to become intuitive with your body and eating and all of those things. I always call it the most effective way, which is what you've developed with the app, which I love, is called practical application.
That's right.
It's because everything, I don't know, we've been to treatment, but who wants to listen to another lecture?
That's right.
We want practical application as to how it's applicable to me, like how is it like what you said. I mean, I had more of a significant weight problem, and like I've said to other people, it doesn't mean our weight issues go away. How we manage it is how we master it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. It doesn't mean that I don't have but obviously how I manage things is much
Mm-hmm.
different now opposed to before.
That's right.
So that's where I love your mentality of this practical application of an app that you literally can start seeing your progress.
It's
Plus everyone,
basically having people get the education they need to sort of create their own meal plan. right? There's a lot of generic meal planning out there, which is like, oh, here's your thing. Here's what you should do. The app is based on guiding principles rather than rules, and it's going to be able to help someone make selections and answer questions that will make a really clear path moving forward for them. It's like, oh, this is how I'm going to sort of approach my nutrition for mental health journey. And then the last thing I'll say about it is, yes, people can track how they've improved with respect to some of the mental health indicators. So by doing deliberate nutrition for mental health and nutrition for depression, they'll be able to check in with their sort of depression scores after finishing the first cycle, maybe do a second cycle through the program, and be able to see
Wow.
how their symptoms have improved over time. So instead of tracking calories or tracking macros, the app is tracking improvements in mental health.
I love that. That is such the difference that needs to be because, like I said, you don't get where you're going. I actually jump on my scale and I'm surprised when I'm down to a weight that I think of as like what I'm trying to keep at, right?
Sure.
Because I'm not focused on weight loss anymore, but I'm almost surprised at how easy it is for me to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've taken on this mentality of eating overall. I mean,
There you go.
overall, I don't really fluctuate a whole lot. I'm normal like anyone else where it's like, oh, the holidays have come and I've eaten something I shouldn't. But I usually quickly go back to what I know makes me feel good.
That's right.
I've stopped talking about what is going to make me gain weight, focusing on, I refer to the food as what makes me feel good or not feel good. I honestly, I've gotten to the point, and I'm sure you are, when you do eat that way, pretty soon you're like, I don't think I'm ever gonna have that again.
Yeah. When you develop a baseline of wellness,
Mhm.
yeah, you can really tell when things are throwing you off balance, right?
When you brought this in, when you bring it into eating disorder clinics, which you have, this is a complex. I mean, sometimes a lot of eating disorder clinics focus just strictly on just calorie, period.
Yep.
Like we don't care what they eat. We're really not that concerned. We just, if they are eating 5 Oreo cookies, at least they're eating. What has been your mentality when you go into those sort of ones and you're reforming that?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there's always the system, right? The medical system and the insurance companies, and they have certain types of data points that they want, right? So like, in a lot of eating disorder treatment centers, they're sort of forced into documenting um weight trajectories, regular weight changes, and dialing up the calories and dialing it down to manipulate that piece, right? And so it has led to a lot of emphasis on that in eating disorder treatment, at least among staff, right?
Right.
The clients are generally getting a message of, don't count your calories. Let's, just be more inclusive, make peace with food, make peace with body. And yeah, that's one of the sort of hot areas of debate is, what if someone has an eating disorder and they have other mental health issues that would benefit from a very targeted nutrition intervention, right? Like, what if someone has a major depressive disorder and they have an eating disorder, and we know that like Mediterranean diet could be helpful for major depressive disorder. Like, what do you do then, right? And so there's just a lot of unanswered questions at this time. But the whole essence of what I call wise mind, the wise mind nutrition message, is that you don't have to pick between either this or that. There is a middle lane. You could find, the best of all worlds and be able to promote positive nutrition, non-math centric nutrition, in a way that doesn't feel like diet culture, right? There are ways to get people excited about eating in a new way without it being focused on weight loss or counting calories or some of the stuff that has gotten a bad rep,
Right.
particularly in the eating disorder space.
So is this app going to be available like treatment center, anyone that's even at a treatment center, they'd be able to download it and start using it within wherever they're at? Like it personally, like me, I can use it. Someone who's in a crisis could start using it. But even if someone is in a more traditional setting, this could be a great, like I'll tell people all the time, and I mean, some people are in programs that there is not going to be a stitch of nutrition.
That's right.
There's not. It does not mean that you give up. It means that this app could be the option that you're using this app for your own well-being. So if you know this in your heart and this connects with you, which it should, because this is science, truthfully, we're not talking anything woo-woo out there. This is science. You'd be able to use this wherever you are to
That's
help
right.
start reforming to help you long term. Now, the other thing I always say is we've got it all ass backwards. We talk about the addiction, but honestly, I really believe it's the mental health that drives the addiction. So until we address the mental health conditions that we're self-medicating with, whether it's drugs, alcohol, eating, sex, whatever, it's all the same, people. It's all the same. So you have to treat your brain and heal your brain and your gut if you want to have a fighting chance to lick addiction.
I
Right?
agree. I agree. And yes, you are right. The app is designed to be supportive of people at any phase of their journey. It's
Right.
designed to be user friendly to someone who's in early recovery, whatever recovery means to that person. But it could also be used by people operating at the highest level for optimization, right?
Right.
It's anyone who is interested in using food specifically to improve gut health and brain health. And it is definitely something that I'm hoping practitioners, coaches will really use with their clients, because
Yeah.
it does get difficult providing a lot of education, recipes, and links to podcasts and stuff like that. And so it's all here in one place for
Well,
people
let's
to.
face it, everyone carries their phone around.
That's right.
We all have our phone wherever we go. So it means when you're sitting in an office and you're waiting to do something or you're killing time, you can do this on your phone. It's not like a journal that you have to pull out of your bag. You literally can pull your phone out and start working on what you want to do. So,
And
and
that
you
was the hard.
said, yeah, I mean, to develop an app of that magnitude is
Yeah,
amazing.
that was the hard part. The reason
Yeah.
why it's taken so long is like the actual development.
So you say you have an automated program as well that you've taped. It's a 6-month program?
The program, the transformative educational journey that's in the app, is a 30-day video series.
Okay.
But it has some personalized messaging based on the intake data. So I learn about someone's mental health symptoms when they sign up. And, if I learn that someone has more likely to have a substance use disorder or depression or anxiety, there's going to be some additional programming that really makes it feel personalized and individualized.
What a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
David, this is amazing. This is so good. This is so
Yeah.
good because you look at this. This is so awesome. I mean, I look at where you really have taken this to like another whole level because like you said, I don't care who you are. You're sitting in a treatment center. You can't give this that they don't do this. You now have a personal coach in your hand,
Mhm.
in your phone that's going to help narrate this aspect. Because there's a lot of programs you might be, it's just, let's face it, your insurance may only pay for this particular program
That's right.
or
Yeah.
you don't have the option. And I think that's been one of it. I've volunteered times at different state ran treatment programs. That's probably the most difficult is I'll see the amount of medications that people are on and what poor nutrition that they have, and I realize it's like a direct correlation.
That's
It
right.
really is.
That's right.
It's like I'm on 8 meds and they're the ones that's coming in with, a big gulp and 5 hot dogs to
Sure.
eat.
Yep. Yep.
And
We
I'm
see
like,
it all the time.
man, I hope they kick this opiate addiction that they have or whatever. Or, like the Adderall epidemic that we have that's going on. Like, then when people quit Adderall, like I quit overnight, well, then you all of a sudden start gaining all this weight because you
Yep.
took it for so many years. And
Yep.
then I think you have a lot of people that relapse based on like from, no one wants to gain weight. No one wants to all of a sudden start getting huge or whatever. And you crave the very substance that helped you maintain that.
Right.
And
That's
in
right.
turn, it really was it was the reverse. I mean, so I love everything that you're about. And locking arms with us and other places like you is what's going to make the reform and change happen within an industry that needs it. Because people,
Yeah. And I'm seeing loud voices and vocal movements in different parts of the world, right? I've always acknowledged Australia and the UK and Canada and parts of South America for, really doing great research on the nutrition for mental health relationship. But it's slow in the US and will probably continue to be. And it's going to be those of us that have the convictions that we do, that we say, you know what, actually, this was huge for me. And I think this can be huge for a lot of people, even though it's not well embraced by the reductionistic biomedical model that we have. There's something there. And you want to find out for yourself, let's talk about it. You can start on the app, which is free.
so we're going to have a link below where it'll have the link. There'll also be nutrition and recovery for those that own treatment centers or individuals who are just wanting to work one-on-one with David Wiss. But beyond that, it's like the app is free. You can do an automated program that's a 30-day, right? That links in with it.
Yep.
So it'll be something that's all inclusive. So if this is a piece, you might have gotten all of these other pieces in recovery, but never got this piece. This is going to be a personalized way for you to get this piece at an affordable price and work with one of the best in the country when it comes to nutrition and recovery. I mean, you've been on this foundation for a long time and you've had a lot of, everything from now when someone works with you personally, obviously they can get functional medicine testing done and other extensive things, correct?
Yep. That's right. That's right.
So, I mean, that's more on a one-on-one, but for budgetary, what he's created is there's no excuses nowadays.
That's
You
right.
now have a free app that's going to help walk you through.
Yep. And, people can always do the app program alongside working with a practitioner like myself or
Right.
someone on my team. I also want to add that there's other incredible resources in there, other people I've partnered with that offer guided meditations and cooking classes. That's all built into the app-based program as well.
Really?
Yeah.
My youngest child, Adeline, is a nutritional chef.
Okay.
He actually is getting trained under Dr. Leslie Korn.
Okay. That's
So
very
bring it
exciting.
on. She is amazing. She's like an amazing nutritional chef.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, that piece and every single piece is, I don't know, it makes me feel good knowing it keeps growing. I mean, just seeing you, like I said, like I'm on Facebook and I'm like, all right, we're going to relaunch this. We got to get this out here. We got to, this has to, we've got to keep linking arms.
That's right.
And so seeing all that you've accomplished and then knowing about this app, I'm like, you're absolutely dead on. Another book isn't nearly as effective as an app. This is brilliant, honestly.
Thank you. I agree. I think the app was the way to go. It turned into a long, difficult process, but it's so exciting that it's all come together and that people can get a new nutrition message, be a part of the revolution, the paradigm shift. And hopefully when we get enough people that are screaming this from the rooftop, we can create some systemic change.
Well, I'm planning, give me about a year and a half, and I'm going to have I'm going to have a conference in Sedona that's healers, healing healers, and people like yourself in the functional medicine world and people doing this kind of work because it's exploding and expanding. The beautiful thing is there's getting to be an increased amount of traditional treatment centers that are starting to warm up to the mentality that, yeah, this has to change.
That's right.
So it's
That's right.
getting there.
It's
So
happening.
it's happening. So David, who would you say, I always ask because I always like linking up with other professionals. What other professionals do you follow that you love?
Hmm.
Because I'm going after them.
Okay.
Or books. So who do you recommend beyond yourself that you really like their work?
Huh. Great question. You know, I don't read a lot of books because I read a lot of peer-reviewed journal articles, right? I've
Right.
always been buried in doing scholarly publications. And so I wish I was the guy that got to read everyone's book. Um, but I'm very much, in line with a lot of psychiatrists, particularly those that work in the eating disorder space, that understand trauma, and also our work on ultra processed food addiction. One of my mentors is Dr. Timothy Brewerton, and he's been a collaborator of mine on a lot of our papers where we're
Okay.
really talking about the nuance with, addiction and eating disorders and how they sort of overlap.
Right.
Yeah, another brilliant collaborator of mine is Dr. Kim Dennis, and they have a great treatment center in the Chicago area called SunCloud Health. And so they're doing some really good work there, much in line with the message that I carry. And yeah, the world of nutritional psychiatry. There's Dr. James Greenblatt, who I've studied under, who's really taught a lot about using functional medicine testing to help people with mental health challenges. And yeah, I'm always looking for psychiatrists that are interested in nutrition, that believe in the functional model, and are looking to bring nutrition to the mainstream.
Well, make sure you start following along because I'm telling you, I've interviewed some of the top psychiatrists in the area of that. There's some amazing ones, very highly educated that are really making waves. And hell or high water, I'm going to get every one of these people. So then that way, there's no way we won't know what state they're in, where to refer people, and what to do. There's all different levels. I mean, there's people that need residential.
Right.
Like we've got Alternative to Med Center in Sedona. It's a residential setting for mental health. There's people that need outpatient. There's people that can coach with someone like yourself that
Mhm.
they need the next level. Maybe they got out of treatment. Now they're like, I still want to continue down this path. I didn't get this piece in treatment. That happens frequently.
Right. That's
Where it's like I got sober or I got, I'm out of the woods, so to speak, but now I need to really get well. Right? I mean,
that's
I
it.
think that's really what we're talking about. I mean, like I said, I went and I got treatment and then I really got well. Then I focused on what does it mean to get well?
That's right.
Meditation and this and that and everything else. So David, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience as to your work? What, like I said, we're going to have all the links below as to how to
Yep.
get the app,
Yep.
be in contact. What else can you share with our audience that
Yeah.
you'd like to share?
Follow Wise My Nutrition on Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel. Just come get a taste of a paradigm shift. And I'd like to always invite people, like, if you want to be a part of the movement, right? Like, let it
Right.
be known. Like, we need people that are on the ground who are willing to push forward the conversation around nutrition for mental health, because we live in a system that doesn't support it. We need to band together, as you said, rub elbows, and form alliances of people who remember who we are.
Right. So like, share. I'm always telling people, make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe. Go to, you know, David's, all of the things that he's doing and make sure that you're subscribing and sharing it because that's how the work is going to spread.
That's right.
Otherwise, it just is us talking about it. It's really
Mhm.
important the more that people do it. And it's really nice to see people, and you get that, I'm sure, all the time too, where afterwards they're like, I had no clue. This was the changing aspect of my life.
That's right. All the time.
Yep. And
All
it
the time.
was like the first time I interviewed with you, that was the first time I was starting to really just kind of get introduced into that world. And, I thought of myself as pretty nutritional minded. I had no clue how
Mhm.
much more I could really do that would
Mhm.
really shift things for me. So,
Mm.
for all the people out there, this is treatment centers, look them up. you can implement it. He's got entire teams that can go in and help you bring this on. And I'm telling you, this is the future. So if you don't grab onto it, you're missing out, because this is what people are looking for.
That's right.
Yeah. If you don't believe it, go into your local grocery store and see how much the organic food section continues to grow.
That's right.
So if you don't believe that people are looking for this, they are looking for it. So, treatment centers, you've got David Wiss. If you're a person, you've got this app. If you're a coach, you now have an app that's going to help your coaching career.
That's right.
If you're an individual that just wants to get to the next level, you've got an automated program. So, there's no excuses, people. There's tons of resources. We're going to keep on doing it. Right, David?
That's it. Let's go.
We're doing it. And then we're going to have a conference here someday in Sedona, and we're going to dance on the rocks and say we did it.
That sounds so great. I'd love to be there.
Yeah, well, I've got it. I've got a guest room. You can always come stay, David.
Okay. Very cool.
Not that far. You're not that far.
Not that far.
Not that far. Thank you, David, for taking the time. I thank you for being the person that you are. I mean, honestly, I do get, it always touches me to know that there are people, because it does come at a personal cost oftentimes. I know it has for me. It comes at a personal cost, because you're doing something, you're a trailblazer. And when you do that, you usually are the first one that gets lynched to begin with. Right. And so you've been a trailblazer. It makes me feel good to see someone young, because I know you've got a long career ahead of you. You've already started this whole amazing movement. And with the app, it's going to grow.
That's right.
I can't wait to download the app. I can't wait. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Again, all of our audience, make sure you like, share, subscribe, go to his YouTube channel, go and share this. If you, like I said, treatment center, you're an individual, make sure that we continue to lock arms and make sure that we're sending a message out there that this movement is not going away, and we are here to stay, and we're going to make sure people get well.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. I'll make you my dopamine donuts if you come out to Sedona.
Okay, let's go. That sounds.
It's all raw cacao. It builds all the dopamine receptors within your brain.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's not sweetened with any sugar. See, because I like to eat, I had to reform and figure out ways I could eat the things I wanted to eat that were good for me, that fed my body.
There you go.
And it can be done. So
it can be done.
It can be done. Thank you, David. Your beautiful wife and your beautiful new baby. Thank you for that. So well received today, your energy and warmth, and until next time. Thanks, David. We'll be in touch. And like I said, come visit us in Sedona. Sounds good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. For information about Alternative to Med Center, give us a call at 888-984-9667.